Round two.
Round two.
Right, yeah.
So tell us about the lightning strike you just experienced.
Yep. When last we spoke. So,
Yes. What was I jabbering on about? I can't remember
I
what I was
had
talking about.
asked, could you let everybody know how you got involved in the Hodag movie?
Yes. Yes. So my mother was born in Rhinelander, the birthplace of the Hodag legend and all that. So when I was a kid, I grew up with my grandmother telling stories about the Hodag and her. Now this is I can't even verify this. I'm actually looking for records, but I remember her telling me that she knew Gene Shepherd, and I was like, oh my God, I was kind of blown away that it just, was this incredible legend. This is the guy who made it, all this kind of stuff. At the time, obviously, I didn't know much about it. And again, I thought it was kind of normal that everybody knew about it. And then being out in California, of course, I had to explain to people, I don't know, it would just come up in conversation, just some weird, local type of thing. But then I was really surprised to find when I came back to Madison, state capital, which is we're about 3 hours south of Rhinelander. I was blown away that like 1 in 10 people down here or less would actually know about the Hodag.
Oh, wow.
I thought it, so did I. I thought it was
Yeah.
like Wisconsin folklore that everybody would know about. And it turns out, no, they would, what people really tend to know about more is I'd say half of the people would know about the Hodag Music Festival, which is a country music festival that has absolutely nothing to do with the Hodag, except their logo is a cowboy with a guitar riding a Hodag.
Okay.
But they don't do anything.
Wondered what that was that he was riding.
Yeah, and I guess people think, I don't know, it's some lizard this guy's riding or whatever. So it's kind of funny that that's become, and apparently it's a huge music festival with big name. I don't do country music, but all the big, your Dolly Partons, your Travis Tritts,
Your Travis Tritts and whatnots.
And what's nots, exactly. And what's that? General Bits and Travis Tritts. I don't know.
Exactly.
There.
We're touring.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good. But anyway, so getting back to it. So I thought it was this known thing. It really wasn't. It was this very unusual thing. But again, I kind of grew up in a household, I was just hearing about it. So it seemed normal. So anyway, my mother's sister, who's still alive and living in California, she was always, Alex, you should do a Hodag movie. So she wanted me to make kind of a Happy the Hodag movie, a kid's, animated fun thing. But yeah, of course, eventually it occurred to me that there was a good story there about the making of it, the legend and stuff. But of course, I want to make it into more of a horror genre, kind of a urban legend / Scream / I kind of look at it a little bit more like it'd be a little bit more like Zombieland or Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, excellent.
It's a little bit of a throwback to a fun, it's got some saucy language in it. So there's a little violence, little gore, a little sexiness. It's kind of a throwback to teen movies of just, running around the woods. Did you ever see Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of that vibe to it. So
yeah, I mean, the Hodag looks like it would be a cryptid that would not be a happy Hodag.
Exactly.
I mean, it was, let me see here. I had that it was born of the ashes of cremated oxen. So that doesn't really lend itself to kids' cartoons.
Happy souls,
exactly.
No. There's got to be, and the whole thing was all of these things. The Hodag is, I don't know, the lore of it is that actually it was a continuation of kind of Native American legends. And that you had this logging, the logging guys had all these stories about things in the woods. So it's a cautionary tale no matter what. It's like you said, it's not a happy thing somebody stumbles upon, picking daisies. These are all things to scare people about the woods and the unknown creatures lurking in the woods, for who knows what meaning. So yeah. So the story is a little bit, it's a little scary, not scary, horror-y, but there's gore in it. There's got to be. It's an adult movie.
Yeah, I believe I saw one of your Instagram posts that promised blood. So
there will be blood.
There will be blood.
There has to be. Of course, there has to be. Can't have a monster movie without a monster. It's got it. It's got some good, clean, all-American blood fun.
And when you were doing your research for the Hodag movie, did anything surprise you that came up about the Hodag that you weren't aware of?
Oh, many things, because again, I had this I'd say until a couple of years ago when I really dove into the project, I had a very superficial, it was this thing and a guy made it up, and it was, all I think I knew was that it was this guy made it up, Gene Shepherd.
Mhm.
And then when it was exposed, they basically, instead of it being embarrassed that it was a hoax and going away, it was like, well, the Hodag hoax became the big thing. And in the day, those postcards became viral. They went all over the world. People collected them. You know, it was the kind of a little bit like the jackalope
Mhm.
postcards, you know, that kind of a
Yep.
fun thing. So I'd say my first real delve into the depth of information on this thing, there's a book by a guy, it's called Long Live the Hodag. And I don't have a copy near me, but I met the guy who wrote it at the Hodag Heritage Festival, which
Was
maybe
that a
we'll talk about
blast?
that. It was a blast.
Okay.
It was Hodag nerd mania. You know,
Yeah.
it was like cryptid everything but Hodag centric, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm, you know, full disclosure, I'm kind of new to the cryptid world of
Mhm.
things and figuring all this stuff, but I'm definitely into the Hodag things. But finding all this crossover and then learning about all these other cryptid type things is just, you know, absolutely fascinating. It's blown up. It's everywhere. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's yeah. Which a little bit was my purpose in going to the festival was at some point I thought I probably should have gotten a booth there and been promoting the Hodag movie, but I was just kind of running around. I had a friend of mine came with me, passing out kind of postcards with some poster artwork and that, and trying to get people to sign up for a newsletter just to show potential investors in the movie that there's a market for this. You know,
Oh
it's
yeah,
a
definitely.
there's so many cryptids out there, which is again going big everywhere. But the Hodag, I think, is very unique amongst all these. It has a 130-year history
Mhm.
with a city that's built up all this stuff around it. There's lore around it. There's loads of stories. There's all this stuff. And, you know, everybody knows it's just a fun mascot for
Yeah.
the city. But there is so much that I
Oh
think
yeah, it's
many other,
untapped.
yeah, exactly. It's an untapped resource of something. And like I said, with this bizarre family connection, it just became this natural, you know, there's a story there. There's a
Mhm.
story there. And the story, I guess I could give you the elevator pitch for the
Yeah,
story, the
please.
log line or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, in a, I guess it's a story about, I would say it's about a failing filmmaker,
Yep.
not autobiographical, but it's a
I know
struggling,
nothing about that.
exactly, struggling young filmmaker, who he's kind of trying to just last stitch. He's got bills to pay. He's got to make a movie that somebody will buy. So he goes back to his hometown, which is Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and to make kind of a mockumentary making fun of all the locals who have this mascot and are all into it. So he's thinking he's going to make this very kitschy, you know, kind of poking fun at the kooks documentary on it. But it's revealed basically early on that his dad is Eugene Shepherd, who invented
Mhm.
the myth. So I'm twisting, you know, reality a little bit. But then as all this, you know, that's the big twist. So that he's kind of, now you find out why he left town. You know, there's a dark story, you know, of this. It's not all happy. Growing up, it was the Hodag was a divisive thing in the community. There's all, you know, all the talk of that. But then tied into this, some dead bodies start showing up, twisted and mangled dead bodies. So this, what was known to be just a hoax, a town mascot, you know, it might be real after all.
That's excellent.
Dun, 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 dun.
That sounds great.
And hilarity and blood ensues.
Yes.
And there's, you know, you got your wacky hillbillies, you got some meth dealers, you got hillbilly meth dealers. There's kind of a
Mhm.
crazy love triangle. You got there's kooky locals. There's all sorts, you know, characters and stuff. So it should have a little bit of something for everybody.
And are
Hodag,
you
the movie.
filming in Rhinelander or?
In a perfect world, yes. I mean, that would be truly the goal.
Mhm.
It really struck me. It was funny at the Hodag Heritage Festival, which is their third time they've done this event. It really is funny. All these people are gathering literally for the exact reason that Gene Shepherd created the Hodag. In his quest, he was basically a huckster who was kind of rustling up tourism for the Rhinelander area. And it's bizarre that 130 years later people were showing up to celebrate this kind of crazy creature
Mhm.
that he dreamt up, well, with local Native American lore kind of built around it, but he turned it into something. So to me, in that exact same spirit, of course, I'd love to film it there. I'd love to get support of the city. I'd love to
Yeah.
get local retailers. And there's a whole thing in filmmaking where cities or states will have film commissions
Mhm.
where they basically incentivize you coming and filming it on location there, and they'll end up giving you tax rebates.
Yep.
So Wisconsin has had that system, and I don't want to be controversial here, but they had a system of that like 10 years ago. And the Johnny Depp movie called Public Enemies
Mhm.
came to Wisconsin and shot up on the locations where Dillinger had the famous shootout at the cabin in the woods and all this stuff. Well, if you do any research on this, you basically find this multi-million dollar Hollywood project came to town got all the rebates, so they got all the incentives, and apparently they really didn't end up injecting money into the local economy.
Oh,
So
so kind
it's
of
a
ruined
big,
it.
oh yeah, it's a big dud of a project, and the state like lost money because it's significant. They'll literally, depending where you go, Georgia's one of the most famous ones with lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Nice on
Famously,
your end. You're not going to lose
I
power.
know, yeah. I'll just watch you blow up. If you freeze again, I'll know that we've
Yeah,
lost
just
power
keep talking,
again.
keep talking.
Okay, I'll just
Yeah,
keep
if
going.
I freeze again, just keep going. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe it's
And in memoriam, we'll have an in memoriam section with you in it. Ah, Jessica, she was struck down in the midst of her prime in a podcast, doing what she loved, though.
yes,
Doing what she
talking about
loved.
the Hodag.
God bless her.
That's how she wanted to go out.
Exactly. Who doesn't?
I'm obviously.
Exactly. So anyway, this whole there's I've read interesting articles about it, and I was had a weird tangential association at the time, but this Public Enemies was a case where the city or the state ended up, I guess, losing money, so they kind of ended up not continuing this film commission type or with state incentives. That's my understanding of that, and I don't think that's coming back. But that said, my goal would be, why the heck wouldn't I want to shoot it in Rhinelander on location, in the same woods, all this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe we do, depending on logistics, you might have to do some scene, interior scenes you can get away with shooting elsewhere on a sound stage or something like that. But in the big picture, and not only that, I actually had pretty big dreams of at this year's festival to go there and film B-roll, because let's flash forward to, if we're, when we actually get this production rolling, I'd love to use the festival itself as a background for scenes. You bring in your stars, you have them stuff, they have them interacting with people, you have them on location doing, stuff at the festival. Oh, because in the movie, by the way, in the script for the movie, the festival plays into, that's why he's going back, is to shoot this documentary while the festival's going on. The Hodag movie, considering the subject matter and everything, it's really kind of a small movie. It's about the characters, it's about the town, it's about the beast, and that's another conversation, is how to portray the Hodag.
Not to age gauge you.
Yes.
But I will.
Ooh, I never heard of that. Age gauge.
I just made it up.
I am 23, yes.
Oh, well, then you're not excited about Indiana Jones at the end of the month, then?
Wait, what's at the end of the month?
Indiana Jones at the end of the month?
Oh, I did. Yes, I didn't know it was the end of the month, but I have seen
June
a
30th.
Trailer for it. Yes. How's this age gauging again? How am I age gauged by this?
Because I figured that you grew up with it, as I did.
I did. You did. We did.
We did.
We all did. We love
So
it.
I'm just wondering if you're like,
obviously
excited,
I'll see it.
mildly excited.
I'd say not excited at all, but that's a bad way to put it. I'll see it. I guess my expectations are so low after the fourth one.
Oh, well, yes. Okay.
Yeah. Wait,
that one doesn't exist in my brain.
Is that the one with the spoiler alert with the big alien ship at the end? Whoops. Spoiler.
Yes.
Or is that was the fourth one? Is that the last one?
Crystal Skull was the fourth one.
Crystal Skull.
Yeah, that was the bad one.
And honestly, the killing thing of that one, the reason that one was so bad, I mean, you could find there's a lot of really bad dialogue in it, but the special effects were so horrible.
Oh, when he was swinging in the trees with the monkeys, that looked horrendous.
Yeah, pick your thing. There was so many thing after, and leading up to the climate, it was all just such bad CGI. You're like, you're killing, poor Harrison Ford. It's like he's putting time in
his legacy.
Yeah. Whereas obviously the first one, is epic, with low budget, minimal CGI, or even that the bad CGI could be overcome by excellent storytelling.
Oh, without a doubt.
And wonderful.
Any movie around that time was kind of like iffy CGI, but like amazing storytelling. So it was like, well, that's okay. I'll buy that. Yeah.
I was just flipping just last night. Ghostbusters was on. I couldn't help but watch the opening scene with the crazy librarian lady who turns into the ghoul. And you're like, okay, that's a puppet. It's horrible. But the acting, the guys are so naturally funny. The story was engaging. I mean, there's just so much going for it. Then who cares how bad the CGI,
and when I saw that in the movie theater at however age I was, we won't do the math because this isn't a math podcast. It's a good podcast.
No long division.
Long division. That scared the absolute crap out of me when I saw that.
Oh yeah.
But now, and there's a cat. We'll just. That's the other one.
That was epic.
Yeah, that's the other one.
And that was perfect. That was your cat did a Star Wars wipe across the screen. And you should have all of a sudden been wearing something totally different when the cat. I
should have taken this off and just had a tank top on and been like, "Hey, part 2." That's the Star Wars. The Ghostbusters Ghost was horrifying when I was like 7 or 8 or however. Absolutely. Now you're like.
It's goofy.
It's goofy.
But still. but still,
Exactly.
I guess that's in the big picture of things. That's the difference between a good story and quality acting, actors, not celebrities. Oops.
Yeah.
Cautious statement.
I feel like
But, and nowadays it's all just CGI. So here's a funny little side note. At the Hodag Festival, I was, I feel like I was almost politicking, just getting people, who wants to see this movie and, sign up for this list and everything. I ended up spending probably half an hour to 45 minutes talking to this young kid, I don't know, 18, 20-year-old kid about how I was going to represent the Hodag. And this kid is like, you better not CGI it, dude. You better not make it look like some crappy Marvel CGI. And I'm like, no, here's what I'm like, all of a sudden, after about a half an hour, I realized I'm working real hard to get this one kid's vote. Man, I eventually was like, you have to pay your ticket and see the movie. Well, trust me, I don't want to make a crappy movie either. So
no, now you want to do kind of like the old school, not CGI.
Well, it's called practical. I want to do it somehow so it's a real thing. Yeah, so it's a real thing. Now, I'm not against enhancing it with CGI.
No.
So you can deck it out, you can, I don't know, add detail, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, short of putting a big covering on a cow and making it march across a field, I don't want it to be. Do you ever see Top Secret?
Yes.
With the people in the cow outfit and stuff. Okay, it won't be that either.
It won't be that. Because that'll disappoint that kid in Rhinelander.
Exactly. That one kid.
Dude, that's a cow. I mean, come on.
I talked to him
about this.
That fucker told me he wasn't going to do a cow, and he used a cow.
I was promised it wasn't going to be a cow.
I want my money back. Have you seen this book called Long Live the Hodag?
No, I have not. I actually was reading up about Jean Shepherd and the Hodag. I don't want to say hoax. Let's mythology.
The original mythology.
The original mythology. And even its ties to like Paul Bunyan. I hadn't known about that until I did some research for the interview. I do have to look into that book, though. I will have you send me the name of it afterwards.
Yeah, I will. I wish I knew. The guy's name is Kurt, and it's like Cliffendorf or something like that. But he's a wonder. Again, I met him at the festival. Oh, wait a second. I have a different book. I'm like, oh, look, what's this?
Oh, hello.
This isn't his book, but this book is written by a guy named Mike Skirball, who I met him there too, but he co-wrote it with the former mayor of Rhinelander, who I've been talking to, a guy named Jerry Schindel. I think I got his name right. Who at the festival, he did all these crazy on-stage reenactments of like the Hodag. He plays Jean Shepherd, and he's got this other young kid, or unfortunately I can't remember his name, and the two of them are like carnival barkers going, come now and see the Hodag behind this tent, which is exactly what Jean Shepherd did. He drew people in, got them to pay their nickel, and he'd come in, and the one guy is saying, oh, the Hodag's a little angry today, and Jean Shepherd would go in behind a curtain or something, and you'd hear all these crazy growling and noises, and he'd do a quick change of room and come out with a shredded shirt with, claw marks on and go, yeah, we're not going to see the Hodag today. The thing's really mad. And
pissed off. I'm sorry, guys.
Yes, and people ate it up. I
had read he made amazing amounts of money for a nickel per person back in the day.
And I think it was for a while.
Yeah.
So again, now going back to some of this, so the company that makes this is called the Hodag Press, and there's a black Hodag on there. And they published the other book. I wonder if his name's on here. Oh, it is right there. Kurt Kortenhoff, I believe.
I can't imagine why I didn't remember that. Kortenhoff.
I know. Kortenhoff. I knew it was very German sounding. Kortenhoffenhausen. Kurt Kortenhoff, KK, author of Long Live the Hodag. So he's the other big publisher with Hodag Press, which is hodagpress.com. For all your stuff, go buy his book. He's a real nice guy, and his book is absolutely, I think it's the definitive Hodag reference material, because it's not just the Hodag, it's the life and times of Eugene Shepherd.
Does the town play up the fact that it was an urban legend? Does the town play up that this could be a creature in the woods of Rhinelander?
So another fun thing is both Carrie and Ben from the Hodag store, they have their own podcast. It's the Hodag Show.
Oh my God.
Which you got to look into the Hodag show.
Of course they have.
Of course they do. These guys, and they're funny. It's literally two guys hanging out. You can hear them cracking their beers, talking Hodag stuff and talking about the festival and everything. It's very, which here's a funny thing. It was very, I don't know, unsettling, I'm going to say, when I went up to the Hodag store, when I went up for the festival, because I hadn't met Ben before, because I've been to the store several times, but he wasn't there. He's off doing other cryptid conventions, of course. So I dealt with his mother, whose mother and father are wonderful. They're running the store. They're putting my postcards into people's bags and stuff. but it was really weird to meet Ben in person. And I kind of didn't quite interact with Carrie because he was so busy doing all these things. But these are people who I've had in my ear. I've listened to like 5 1-hour episodes of them on the Hodag show.
Yeah.
So you get this weird, like, oh, I know this person I have talked, even though we haven't talked. You've probably experienced this with people you've interviewed, or I don't know if this
I'm like, I've met this person.
Yeah. And then you've never met them before. So I had
No.
this weird meeting. Ben was kind of like, hey, it's like, it felt like an old friend. And he's like, the first time he's ever seeing me, so there's this weird, there's something what you said about the cult of celebrity with that. I think we've got to,
I think
that's
so,
again, that'll be for episode 87. I think
that's, coming back in 2 weeks, we'll be talking about the celebrity status
back on exactly
of Hodag podcasters.
Whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother
so
episode.
There was that actually, you were leading me down a trail with something about the Hodag with it was about the Hodag with about Carrie with about I don't know, there was
the
something
question.
Does the town I was circling back. Does the town what
does the town it's okay, does the town play it up? I'm leaving all of this in. Does the town
inside
play
my
it
brain
up
this is how my brain works
as a hoax, or do they, or not play it up as a hoax, do they celebrate the hoax of the Hodag, or do they say, you never know?
So now it comes back to why I was even mentioning this. On the Hodag Show podcast, they're always talking about, and I've seen some Hodags out in the woods, and the Hodags are angry this year. It's all tongue in cheek. I don't think anybody though seriously talks about it like that. It's just the town mascot. Yeah. And did you hear about the crazy prize they won recently, or the contest? So Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and this was a national contest for the I don't know what the official title is, the most popular mascot in the United States of America. The Hodag won. Wow. And the Hodag didn't just won, it won like by 67%, which is kind of insane. And I actually asked Ben about that. So they've been promoting it. Even the Hodag store, he made a custom Hodag, the mascot, the winning mascot bobblehead, which is hilarious. And I said, you must have been promoting this. He said, I had nothing to do with it. And I think it's a bizarre convergence of the cryptid community getting bigger and bigger. And then there was, I looked into this. I went to the website where it was, and there's all sorts of categories of mascots. There's the, I don't know, the animal-based mascots. And they actually had a kind of unknown creature mascot, which the Hodag won. But then they took the winners of all the categories, and then the Hodag, like, hands down beat everything else, which was amazing. The
community is like slowly pushing. Yeah.
It's this undercurrent.
Oh my goodness. Geycen is going to meet us tonight. My co-host is making it.
Fantastic. Is he chiming in?
Hello.
Ta-da!
I sincerely apologize, everyone. I've had a crazy day, and I hope this is going well.
Jay, we were talking about the Hodag. Do you know what the Hodag is?
No, I am unfamiliar with the Hodag. I had plenty of time to research it, but
That's
my
the
God,
Hodag.
now I feel like I'm offending our guest. Like I feel really bad.
No, that's why you're the co-host.
Seriously, what's up with this guy? Seriously, what's up with this guy?
I know.
Seriously.
I don't know where he got the link.
Who is this loser?
Who are you people?
If you don't have a Hodag tattoo, I'm going to be so pissed.
I'm going to read you the
hang on.
Yeah. He's got the full back or butt tattoo.
I'm going to read you the Hodag one shot right here, so you know what we're talking about.
Hit me. I got it.
Good.
So the Hodag is a mythical creature resembling a large bull-horned animal with a row of spines running down its back, born from the ashes of cremated oxen, an incarnation of abuse that those animals suffered. The story is closely tied with the city of Rhinelander, which has the Hodag as its official symbol.
Huh.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Putting the dog outside.
Are there a lot of common sightings of this? And is it in Wisconsin, or is it?
It's in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Alex actually just got back from the Rhinelander Hodag Festival, which I'm very
Heritage Festival.
The Heritage Festival, not the country festival.
Third year. Exactly. Yeah, the country. To be clear, there's this Hodag Country Music Festival that's been around for I think like 20 plus years, and huge names. I'm not into country music, but big names. It's a huge thing where 50,000 people or whatever. So Rhinelander now in its third year has the Hodag Heritage Festival, only celebrating this thing, which to back up with the story, there's this guy named Gene Shepard who created this thing in 1895 or whatever it was. And he, as the story goes, he was charging people nickels to see this thing, and they'd never really see it, or they'd see it in the dark, and they literally had wires next to this crazy cobbled together thing they had, and people would go, "Oh my God, I saw a Hodag," when, you know, they just saw something in the dark moving and somebody off stage growling or whatever. So eventually, and this is like all still true story stuff, the Smithsonian here, this thing goes viral. They made a postcard of the city elders capturing the Hodag, and it looks fake as can be, but you know, people CGI wasn't a thing then. But literally people came from the Smithsonian on the East Coast to categorize this unknown beast that had been caught, and immediately it was revealed as a hoax. And instead of it being this embarrassment, everybody wanted to hear about the Hodag hoax, and they wanted to come see about the hoax. So the city, now I don't think it was right away. I couldn't get an exact date on it, but somewhere then after the turn of the century, it just kept on, you know, people were coming to see this thing, and they, you know, put it in a box in the museum, all that kind of stuff. Well, the city adopted it as their mascot for the entire city. The high school adopted it. Now, if you go there, they're the Rhinelander Hodags, and they have all the, which, yeah, another trivia is the original one was black. So all the older versions are the black Hodag. And at some point, even this Carrie didn't know the date, the high school's colors were green and white, and now the ones you see are all green. So the assumption is at some point when the high school adopted it, it became a green Hodag with white claws and all that kind of stuff. But now to this day, you go there and it's everywhere in the town. It's like Hodag Burgers is over here. Hodag Used Cars is over here. There's statues all over the place. It's on the police cars. Wow. It's on the water tower when you come into town. There's a big Hodag graphic. And the coolest one, if you just Google it or Wikipedia it, there's a statue that an artist made that, I kid you not, it's as big as it's bigger than a car. And it's this, but he's kind of a smiling, well, it's not quite this one. This is a very old rendition of it, one of the original ones. But the city owns this very particular depiction of the Hodag, and it's kind of clawing, and it's like, it's kind of smiling at you, you know, it's this happy Hodag with huge fangs and all this kind of stuff. So it's become, and they just won the best mascot in the USA award, best high school mascot.
Wow.
So it's current.
That's amazing.
That's a primer on the Hodag. It started out kind of as trailing off or pulling from the legends of like Paul Bunyan and these kind of creatures in the woods. And there is a Native American thing that they found cave paintings of ones like several thousand years old, that it looks just like, it actually looks like a very simplified version of this with spikes on its back. And it's, and I can't remember what, I want to say it's called the like Masu Wisu or something. There's a Native American name for it, which apologies, I'm not getting right. But basically they think that was their origins of the lumberjacks talking about this thing in the woods. But again, it's one of these, you know, just like Paul Bunyan things, like, I don't know if people ever really thought there was a real thing, but this guy, Eugene Shepard, is credited with taking all the local urban legends and kind of coalescing a story that got published in the newspapers. They had drawings of it. And he was a hype man. He was kind of a all or nothing, you know, he's either very rich or getting arrested for drunken public kind of guy. He's a character. Exactly. He's a character.
You've intrigued me already. I know I'm going to do a lot of more research on this, because it's fascinating to me that like it evolved in such a way where it was something deep as far as cave paintings, and took into the point where this, you know, guy kind of reignited the spark in a way.
Absolutely. He was a real huckster, a real and oh, by the way, he got interest from when I don't think when it was quite exposed yet, as the story goes, he was contacted by P.T. Barnum about acquiring this beast that he'd captured because he wanted to put it in his sideshow thing. And I don't know, you'd have to talk to a Carrie who would know the exact series of events, but I think people thought it was a real thing. You know,
he was going to put it right next to his Fiji mermaid.
Exactly. Yes. And a bearded lady. Why not?
Yeah, you know? Exactly.
I'm going to attribute it to the whole, like the cryptid thing. There's in the cryptid community, there's so many of these, you know, they're everywhere. I mean, there's got to be thousands of them if you start adding them up. But the Hodag is kind of unique. It's actually got a 130-year history of, you know, people making things about it and telling stories about it and all this kind of stuff. I think any other cryptid, you know, would kill for that kind of pedigree. Length of interest in it, you know,
longevity.
Yeah.
And it's a good, like I had mentioned earlier before Jay rudely interrupted, it's
that will happen 17 more times, by the way.
No, it's the year. Cryptids are starting to become more to the forefront than a fringe kind of like in the basement type of situation. I mean, aliens are all over the news right now. Movies are everywhere, popping up here and there. People have more of an interest in cryptids, and they're not afraid to have them anymore.
Well, and that's the kind of turning, if the twist in the story is it didn't then become an embarrassment. Everybody loved the fact of this crazy hoax. The hoax became even more, it launched it into the next realm of stuff. So isn't there some, the Hodag is 100% like, outside of these guys joking about from this, there's a podcast called The Hodag Show, and they joke about, yeah, the Hodags are really angry this year. And they'll talk about sightings, totally tongue in cheek. I mean, you just know, but doesn't it disqualify it from being a cryptid then? Because nobody thinks it's a real thing. It's a legend.
But nobody's proved it's not yet.
And the fact that there are things before him, the legends that came before him, it came in a time that we didn't have the ability to quickly snap a photo and stuff like that. So I think that a cave painting or folk tales brought up through generations is just justification as having, you know, any other kind of physical.
I mean, people have to prove it doesn't exist.
Oh, bam.
That's good.
Wow, I think that's the tagline on my poster. Prove this doesn't exist. You know?
Pretty good.
Motherfucker. I'm gonna put a motherfucker on that. Nope, already wrote it down. I wrote it first.
Oh, sorry.
No, you'll get full credit. Don't worry.
That's the thing, though. You can't tell me it's not until you. How are you going to prove to me it doesn't?
True.
Prove it doesn't exist. Yeah,
exactly.
No,
I mean, you may use that because that's spectacular. What I just came up with. That's yours.
It was spectacular. It was spectacular. No, you'll get full credit.
Thanks.
You'll get credit for sure. Well, now we're leading into a whole other area of folklore, and I didn't realize this, but I think I've listened to so many folklore podcasts. You guys listen to Lore, just Lore by Aaron Menke?
Yeah, I started to last year. I think maybe I started getting into it and then fell off of it.
I think I've listened to hundreds of hours of his podcasts. He has several of them, and all of them delve into folklore from all over the world and just stories. And they're not even necessarily explaining it. They're just talking about these things. And it's just fascinates the shit out of me.
I think everything is born of stories, though, like Jay said, like Native American tales that we get.
Yep.
There's Thunderbird and Bigfoot. Those are stories passed down from generations to generations, even if they started as cautionary tales. It was because you don't go in the woods for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they seem mythical on some levels, or, you know, like you said, cautionary tales. But then there's, I mean, not getting into like footprints and stuff, but like Native American cultures believed it was an actual thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't there be something in the woods that's scary? You know,
prove me it's not.
Prove me it's not.
Do you have any questions for me?
No.
I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question of a new. So this is another one of my. I have a whole bunch of finished scripts and a whole bunch of projects in. This is one I'm busy outlining, but it's something I've kind of become obsessed with. My newest thing doesn't quite fall into the cryptid thing, but it's in the creepy space. Let me first, just because I feel like I'm a survey taker sometimes. What do both of you think when I give you just the phrase folk horror? Go. What does that mean to you?
Native American media. When I think of folklore, I'm from New England. I remember growing up with a lot of Native American folklore, and I loved it. And that's what kind of probably fueled my cryptid, paranormal, and all that. And living in obviously the the Bridgewater Triangle. I wish.
Wait, the what triangle?
And
seasonal.
So that interests me a lot. There's been very few folklore horror movies that I can recall that stand out. And I think that any folklore stories, I'm going to have to check out this podcast you were talking about the folklore.
Lore, just called Lore.
Lore.
I believe it actually got turned into a Netflix special, and there's a visual of it.
Amazon. It's on Amazon. And you know what? What's funny is I've listened to, I mean, again, probably 100 hours of it. And I think I went to the thing and it was just different because I walk my dog 5 miles a day. So I listened to all these podcasts. It's just great fodder for that. And I think seeing it was I don't know why I say it was a letdown, but I'm just so used to conjuring the images in my head.
So it's better.
And now all of a sudden, but I haven't watched enough of it. It's on my to watch list. So I'm not disparaging it, but
so is this a period piece, or would it be modern with folklore horror concept?
Well, before I answer that, what do you think, Jessica? Again, folk horror.
I want to give you a movie that it immediately came to mind when Ritual.
I feel like I saw it. Refresh me. It's a recent one.
Four guys go into
four guys out in the woods. Yes, because and oh my god, Yes, that is
with
that just
the
gave me
thing.
chills. That creature.
Yes, that's what
But
folk
why are they aren't they in
horror
the
to
woods
me.
to celebrate like a buddy there's died and
Yes.
they're out there to have a
Yep.
remembrance camping trip?
That's
Jason,
what
have you
it
seen that
reminds me
movie?
of.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
The
It's
creature is
the ritual.
mind-blowing. The
Yes.
ritual, yeah. So
The
that's what
ritual.
comes to mind, that type of dark, woodsy,
Yes.
like folk where you don't know the language, you don't know the background, you don't know any of that.
Continue on grabbing audio visually.
Indescribable weird things like you're like, wow.
But
I
it's
have no
normal
idea.
for them. It's
Yeah.
it's
People
this
who
is-
are familiar with the folklore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
What I
Pumpkinhead.
found out is there is this, yes, like Pumpkinhead. There is
Like
this
Pumpkinhead.
So this is turns out is a subgenre that I was kind of unfamiliar with, but it turns out it exists. Like the Wicker Man is considered folk horror. And then I
Midsummer,
found
would
this.
that be considered it?
Yes,
Ooh.
Midsummer is
Okay.
Midsummer. I would say Midsummer.
I haven't watched. I don't watch. So
Have
if
you
the
seen it
movie-
though?
No. Okay. So I watch horror movies.
Jason, have you
I
seen it,
watch
Jason?
things Jay has to have.
No, I haven't. No.
If there's a bone in it, I can't watch it. If there's a bone break in the movie, I have a very specific. If there's a compound fracture in a movie,
Achilles
I cannot watch
tendon,
that
too.
movie.
So you can't watch any what is it, Hot Shots Part 2 with skiing or Ski Bums 3 because people break a leg?
Yes.
If there's a bone break, that is the weirdest
It has to be a
anti-fetish.
compound fracture that has to be out of the skin. I can watch.
That's
wait, watch this.
I feel like, oh,
Freddy got fingered.
I couldn't watch that movie because of that.
I broke my arm once, and what's funny is I wanted it to be a compound fracture, but my arm went, it just bent in a
What do you
different
mean?
direction.
I wanted it to be a compound fracture. I was hoping for a compound
you
fracture.
can't imagine it could break and not break through. It was my arm. My arm literally went like this and then went like this, and I looked at it and went, "Oh, I was like 13."
That's what kept me away from Midsummer. Is there's a bone break scene in it? I believe.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, close your eyes. You have to see it. It's brilliant and it's horrific.
It's folk horror though.
Well, yes, and this is why and I swear I'm not selling these, but I came upon this collection. It's called All the Haunts Be Ours. And it's so first of all, there's a documentary with this title on iTunes or whatever. I ended up buying it. It's a 3-hour documentary on folk horror, and they reference probably 50 movies. And then, so I bought this box set. It was like $100. And I kid you not, it's literally like 16 DVDs. It's like 30 movies.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they're all folk horror. So I didn't know any of these movies, which is why I bought this stupid fucking $100 box set
I was
that I've
say,
yet to watch.
Do you have a lot of physical media?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I'm a nerd. I'm okay.
Age gauge.
Age gauge. God, I'm gonna write. Age gauge.
Age gauge.
Oh, so here's what really prompted me into this: the folk horror thing. Have you guys seen The Witch?
Yes.
With what's his name?
Jay,
Eggers, something Eggers.
The goat talked in the woods, and the chick was naked in it, but she was like,
oh. And Black Phillip, the goat.
Yeah, and it was a massive.
Oh, Jason, you need to.
Jay, you haven't seen The Witch.
The Witch. Okay.
The Witch.
I don't think you should watch it with the kids. Maybe I don't know.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
He has teenagers, but I don't know.
Oh, teenagers. Okay, I thought children, but still.
No.
But then he made another one. Did he make The Lighthouse?
I haven't seen it with Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
I didn't see
that is and Willem Dafoe. That is a fucked up movie.
Yeah.
It's like it's a drug trip. You've seen it?
Yeah. Yeah.
How have you not seen The Witch then?
I don't know. I don't know why I watched The Lighthouse, because it's not something I was drawn to, but we watched it one night.
Very out there.
The Witch is one of those movies, like, you know how you felt when you watched the original Amityville Horror? Like back in the day. Right. Amityville Horror, not like the Green Lantern Amityville Horror that came out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's got that like unsettling feel where you just
hours because it's so practical. It's just so like like this is what happens.
Yeah,
and it's the kind of movie that shocks you by just something like what the fuck, something just happens.
Yeah,
kind of stuff. It's like if there's special effects, they're not obvious in any way. You know what I mean? It's very practical.
Yeah, there's maybe one. I think maybe even in the whole movie, one or two.
And don't say what you're thinking.
No,
but that one. I've rewatched. I've seen it 3 times now, and that one I did buy the Blu-ray of because I want to hear what they have to say about it. But it's so off-putting because they're just the way they speak. They're speaking in very period. It's like 13, not 13. I don't know. What
like
year it is?
Old English, maybe. I guess.
Yeah. And it's kind of almost like Shakespeare. You have to decipher what the fuck they're really saying in the first place. And it's just so basic. It's so basically it's basic fear of the woods. That's all it is. Fear of the woods. So on that spirit. So The Witch is very formative. Somehow I've got obsessed, which made me buy a $100 box set that I've yet to watch of all folk horror. So I have access to a piece of land in part of this state that's out in the middle of fucking nowhere and would be the absolute ultimate to have a film production on. My family owns it with another family. We've had it forever. And it's this huge section of land that would just be absolutely ideal to have a film production on. You don't have to have any permits, anything. You've got locations, you've got
because you
scenery, you've got all this kind of stuff.
So that's it.
So I kind of came up with this crazy idea. It basically my log line for it would be, it's based upon, like, I know there's an actress in LA who I was trying to think of something that she would for sure want to do. And it's like, so you take your kind of LA girl type thing. Somebody's into all the trendy stuff and they kind of get into witchcraft for fun. And, let's do a little Wiccan, and they get into all this stuff. Well, it becomes more and more real. And as they kind of do a getaway trip to go to the Midwest to get out of Los Angeles, they're literally tampering with shit, with real witchcraft, but they think it's a trendy Wicca thing, that they're going to be a girl power and have fun and let's tie some sticks together and burn some sage and we'll all feel good. Well, you raised fucking Satan. So it's a downward spiral of somebody who gets into all this stuff thinking they're doing this trendy thing, but they're really opening the can of worms of what the hell the dark side is all about. It gets very, very dark and it's all I've plotted it out. I plotted the whole thing. I plotted the whole thing out, but I haven't written it yet. But that's how I got to finish the fucking Hodag project. I got, you got to get money behind all these things. That's the real challenge. Now, the good news is that one would be even the Hodag is relatively low budget. Yeah. Back to me and my movie project. It's I'm supposed to be promoting something. I keep forgetting that.
That's okay. We're having a good time. It's all right.
In the big picture, when I've seen I've been involved kind of in other things peripherally, and it's like, costs can go out the window on the weirdest things. The Hodag project itself, it's a personal story about these people in a small town. It's all about, it's the story, it's the characters, that's the heart of the movie. And then throwing on top of it, you've got a creature, be it somewhat CGI. Geycen, we had a previous discussion about how some kid cornered me at this festival to make sure I wasn't going to make a damn Marvel thing with a CGI piece of shit I'm like, I spent a half an hour trying to talk this teenager out of the fact that I wasn't going to screw up his movie that doesn't exist yet. But at the end of the day, that's probably the biggest expense besides getting name talent. They're expensive to act in the thing. Some CGI is kind of the main thing. Otherwise, it's a drama in a small town, an action drama, a comedy, in a small town. It sounds hokey, but my mantra, I've never wanted to work for somebody else since after going out on my own, many, many years ago, it's like, I never wanted to do the corporate thing. I have zero aspirations to make a Hollywood movie, a Marvel movie. Now, if they call me up and want to give me 50 million to make, whatever. Okay. I'm not an idiot, but
you
also
want your
I know
movie to belong to you.
Right.
Absolutely. And I also know if literally they called me up to make Spider-Man 7 or whatever, it's like, that is beyond what I can do right now. I know what my stepping stones are, and I could do a $10 million, I could do a $20 million movie, but you start getting mega big and it's like, that's a whole nother animal that I will admit I don't have the experience level to do.
No. And would you rather do a passion project than something that somebody's just throwing money at you also?
Absolutely. I mean, as silly as it sounds, it's like making money on it is not the goal of it. I'd rather spend my golden years making, just making something that's good, that lasts, that people get a kick out of, they have a fun. That's why I want to film it in Rhinelander. But paganism tends to be the through line in so many of these things, which is so the story I was telling you about, the title, I want to say the title.
Ooh, the name of yours?
Yes.
I like
that. Okay, bleep that when I say it, because that'll be better when I say that.
That's bold. Yeah. It's bold.
It is.
And for the layperson, everyone who's wondering, pagan stands for people against goodness and normalcy.
Does it?
Are you serious?
No, it's from do you ever watch Dragnet? Do you ever watch the Dragnet movie?
I was just like, holy shit, Rain Man just came up with
Dan
something
Aykroyd?
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. They get dressed up in the goat legs and they have a big sign that says people against goodness and normalcy. I'll never forget it. I don't know why.
I honestly thought you just had all synapses fired off at once.
Yeah.
I should have run with it.
For a second there, I thought you were a genius. Nah.
No.
Might I suggest we do this again as you're maybe going into production of your movie? We can talk
without a doubt
more, push it a little more.
Absolutely. I'm open to, I've got I got more crap to talk about than you got time to talk about it.
Excellent. No, thank you very much though for coming on. It's been a blast. I mean,
It's totally fun.
veered everywhere, but it's been a great conversation.
Tell you what, literally though, my plan is to watch my thing.